At Thanksgiving, my mom said, "Your brother just bought a beautiful house. When will you finally settle down?" I replied, "Oh, I already did. I just didn't invite anyone who doubts me." Her face turned red as everyone turned to stare. Hey, Reddit. After what went down at Thanksgiving last week, I need to get this off my chest. I'm 28 female. My older brother Ethan is 33 male, and my entire family has treated him like he walks on water while I'm just there. The spare kid they got stuck with in a BOGO deal. This isn't me being dramatic. This is documented fact. When I was 4, my dad bailed. Ethan was 9, and something shifted in my mom after that. She transferred all her hopes and dreams onto Ethan. He became the man of the house, and me, I became the afterthought. From that point on, everything revolved around Ethan. Mom would reschedule my dance recital if they conflicted with his football games. I won second place in a state science competition. That's nice, honey. Did you see what your brother did, though? Ethan got straight A's. Family celebration dinner. I made honor roll. Keep it up, sweetie. Without looking up from her phone. When I was 15, I spent weeks building a working robot for the regional science fair. Programmed it myself, designed everything, won first place, and qualified for state. I burst through the door to tell my family. Mom was helping Ethan with his college applications. "Mom, I won. I'm going to state," I said, waving my blue ribbon. She barely glanced at it. "That's wonderful, honey. Ethan, did you finish your personal essay?" That was it. Meanwhile, when Ethan got accepted to his safety school, a state university with a 70% acceptance rate, Mom threw him a party and invited the entire extended family, posted about it on Facebook 47 times with captions like, "So proud of my brilliant son." The Christmas when I was 16 really crystallized things. I'd saved up money from my library job to buy everyone thoughtful gifts. Christmas morning, Ethan opened his gift from Mom. A brand new $12,200 laptop, new clothes, concert tickets. His pile was 3 feet high. My gifts, a $30 Target gift card, and socks. Literally socks. When Ethan complained his laptop was the wrong color, Mom apologized and offered to exchange it. I'd gotten socks, and he was complaining about color options. My cousin Nora found me crying in the bathroom. "Your mom's completely blind when it comes to you," she said. "It's not fair." Ethan went to state university. Mom paid his tuition, housing, and sent monthly spending money. His grades were trash. Barely a 2.5 GPA. Changed majors 3 times. Took 6 years to graduate because he was finding himself. When I asked about college help sophomore year of high school, Mom sighed. "Honey, I'm already helping Ethan. I just don't think we'll have much left over, but you're smart. You'll figure out financial aid." Translation. Ethan gets everything. You get to figure it out yourself. So, I did. Federal loans, private loans, 2 jobs throughout college, waited tables during the week, overnight shifts at a 24-hour gym on weekends. Lived off ramen and stress. Studied computer science because I'd always been good with technology, though no one in my family noticed or cared. I graduated in 4 years with a 3.8 GPA and 0 family help. Ethan graduated 6 years later with a 2.4 GPA and tens of thousands in parental support. Junior year, I had the flu so badly I could barely move. Still went to my restaurant shift because I couldn't afford to miss work. Passed out mid-shift, lost those hours, couldn't make rent. Called Mom crying, asking for $300. "Helen, I wish I could help, but we just sent Ethan money for his spring break trip. He's been so stressed with school." Spring break trip. Ethan was going to Cancun while I was choosing between rent and groceries. I sold my laptop to make rent, used library computers the rest of the semester. His graduation, massive party, rented banquet hall, 75 people, slideshow of his journey, 200 photos of him drinking at parties. My graduation, a generic card in the mail. Mom didn't come to the ceremony because Ethan had a job interview and she wanted to support him. After college, I got hired at a tech startup called Data Flow Solutions. Started as a junior developer at $55,000 with stock options. Most people would kill for that opportunity, but my family had no idea what stock options were. "That's nice, dear," Mom said. Ethan just got promoted to senior sales associate. Ethan's promotion was a $3,000 raise and a bigger cubicle. I threw myself into work. 3 roommates in a tiny apartment, brought lunch from home every day, didn't go out. Every penny went to student loans or investing. Within 2 years, I'd paid off half my loans. Within 4 years, they were gone. But did my family know? Nope, because they never asked. Phone conversations followed the same pattern. Mom, how are you, honey? Me? I'm good. Work's going well. Mom, that's nice. Did I tell you about Ethan's new position? 45 minutes about whatever mediocre thing Ethan was doing. Here's what was actually happening. I got promoted to team lead within 18 months, then development manager, then director of engineering. By year 5, I was CTO, Chief Technology Officer. I was 26, managing 40 developers. The startup exploded. Series A funding, then Series B. User base grew from 10,000 to over 2 million. Last year, we got acquired by TechCorp. My stock options worth $1.2 million after the acquisition. At 27 years old, I had more money than both my parents combined had made in their entire careers, more than Ethan would make in the next decade. Also, for the record, yes, I had been married. To Mike. After a false accusation in his family's orbit that wrecked us, we separated. He even filed for a restraining order in the chaos. Much later, he came to apologize. By then, I had built my own peace. I keep my personal life quiet. I keep it mine. But I didn't tell my family. What was the point? They'd never cared about my career before. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, my uncle asked what I did. I'm in tech, I said vaguely. Oh, like IT fixing computers? Something like that, I said, not bothering to explain. I was a C-suite executive at a company valued at $200 million. 5 minutes later, everyone was fascinated by Ethan's latest job change. 8 months ago, a colleague mentioned their neighbor was selling their house privately. I went to look. The property was 40 minutes outside the city, 4,200 square feet on 3 acres of pristine wooded land. Modern farmhouse with board and batten siding, gourmet kitchen with floor-to-ceiling windows. A stream ran through the back of the property. 5 bedrooms, stone fireplace reaching to the second floor. Primary suite with French doors to the deck and a bathroom with a clawfoot tub overlooking the woods. Finished basement with home theater and wine cellar. Backyard deck with outdoor kitchen and pizza oven. Stone fire pit area, paths leading through the woods. It was perfect. The owner, Patricia, was relocating for her husband's job. She named a price that was very reasonable. In the city, a house half this size would cost twice as much. I ran the numbers with my financial advisor. I had the cash, not I can make a down payment cash. I had I can write a check for the full purchase price cash. 2 days later, I made an offer. Full asking price, cash, no contingencies, quick close. We closed 2 weeks later. The day I got the keys to my house, I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes just staring at it. My house, my property, my land. I'd done this completely on my own. No help from my parents, no co-signers, no borrowing, just me, my hard work, and my determination to never be dependent on anyone again. Nora was the only person I told. She helped me move. And when she saw the place for the first time, she actually cried. "Helen," she said, standing in my kitchen, looking out at the view. "This is incredible. I can't believe you did this all on your own." "Believe it," I said, still kind of in shock myself. "Your family is going to lose their minds when they see this," she said. "They're not going to see it," I told her. "I'm not telling them." She looked at me like I was crazy. "What? Why not? This would shut them up for once about Ethan being the successful one." "Because," I said, "I'm done trying to prove myself to them. I don't need their validation anymore. I don't need them to be proud of me. I just need to be proud of myself." Nora hugged me. "I'm proud of you." "Thanks. That actually means more than you know." For the next several months, I settled into my new home. It took me a few weeks just to figure out what to do with all the space. I'd been living in a room the size of my new walk-in closet for years. I set up my home office in one of the upstairs bedrooms with the built-in bookshelves, turned another bedroom into a gym, left 2 rooms empty because I couldn't even think of what to do with them. Adopted Oscar from the shelter, a scruffy mutt who'd been there for months because nobody wanted an adult dog with some unknown trauma in his past. He was perfect. We bonded immediately. He loved the space, loved the yard, loved running through the woods chasing squirrels. I planted a vegetable garden in a sunny corner of the yard. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs, zucchini. Spent my evenings after work pulling weeds and watering plants, Oscar lying in the grass nearby. Joined a local hiking group that met on Sunday mornings. Made actual friends who knew me as just Helen, not as Ethan's little sister, or the disappointment. These people didn't know or care about my family dynamics. They just liked hiking and wanted company. Started actually living my life the way I wanted to live it. Had dinner parties on my deck. Hosted friends for movie nights in my basement theater. Worked from my home office most days because my company had gone fully remote after the acquisition. Was I happy? Yes, really, genuinely happy. And I didn't need my family's approval to feel that way. At family gatherings, when they asked how I was doing, I'd just say, same old, and change the subject. They never pushed for details. They never asked follow-up questions. They just assumed I was still struggling along in my little apartment with my little job. Meanwhile, Ethan was still bouncing between jobs, still taking money from mom, still playing the role of successful golden child while actively drowning in debt I'd learned about by pulling his credit report. The house that launched 1,000 celebrations. Last spring, the family group chat exploded with news. Ethan had been pre-approved for a mortgage. He was buying a house. The level of celebration was absolutely insane. Mom immediately started planning a party. We have to celebrate this huge milestone, she posted in the chat, followed by 47 party emojis. I didn't respond, just muted the conversation and went back to work. The party happened a few weeks later on a Saturday afternoon. I almost didn't go, but Nora begged me for moral support. Please, she texted, if I have to listen to Aunt Debbie ask me about my biological clock one more time without backup, I might actually lose it. So I went. Mom's backyard was decorated like they were celebrating a moon landing. Balloons everywhere. A banner that said, "Congratulations, Ethan," stretched across the patio. A cake shaped like a house, sitting on the picnic table. She'd even hired a photographer to capture the moment. Ethan was in full peacock mode, walking everyone through the details of his new house like he was on HGTV. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, finished basement, 2,400 square feet. Great neighborhood with top-rated schools for when Vanessa and I have kids. We're thinking about adding a pool next summer. Everyone was hanging on his every word. My mom was practically glowing. Isn't this amazing? My baby boy buying his first home. I'm so proud I could burst. I grabbed a drink and found Nora hiding in the corner of the yard. I don't even know what that is, and I already hate it. I laughed despite myself. How long have you been here? Too long. Aunt Debbie already cornered me about why I'm not on dating apps, because apparently that's how all the young people meet these days. Too long, she groaned. Aunt Debbie already cornered me about why I'm not on dating apps, because apparently that's how all the young people meet these days. During the party, I overheard something that made my stomach turn. I was walking past the kitchen window when I heard Ethan talking to Mom inside. The down payment is going to be tight, he was saying. I might need to borrow a bit more than we discussed. Ethan, I already gave you $15,000, Mom said, sounding stressed. That's almost all I had saved for retirement. I know, Ethan replied. But this house is perfect. Vanessa really has her heart set on it. The finishes, the location, everything. We can't lose it. Maybe we could put the rest on a credit card. I'll pay you back once I'm settled. You said that about the last money I lent you. Mom, come on, don't be like that. I'm good for it. I'm about to close this big account at work. Huge commission coming. I'll be able to pay you back everything, plus interest. I walked away before they could see me, but that conversation stuck with me. My mom had given Ethan $15,000 from her retirement savings. Meanwhile, she'd never offered me a penny when I moved into my apartment. Hell, she'd seemed annoyed when I asked to temporarily store some boxes in her garage. And Ethan was talking about getting more money, more credit cards, and apparently he already owed her money from before. Something was very wrong with his financial situation. I could feel it. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I used some of my tech skills to pull Ethan's credit report. Not exactly legal, but I was worried about my mom, and I wanted to know just how bad things were. What I found was worse than I imagined. 5 credit cards, all maxed out or nearly there. Total credit card debt, $47,000. Credit score, 520. Multiple late payments on his car loan. Recent applications for several new lines of credit, most of which had been denied. Car lease he couldn't afford. $650 a month for a BMW he definitely didn't need. Personal loans from online lenders with predatory interest rates totaling another $15,000. Ethan was drowning, and he was about to take on a $350,000 mortgage with a 5% down payment on top of over $60,000 in existing debt. And he was dragging my mom down with him, using her retirement savings to prop up his unsustainable lifestyle. But did I say anything? No, because I knew nobody would listen to me anyway. I'd just be the jealous little sister trying to ruin Ethan's big moment. Fast forward to last week. Mom texted the family group chat. Ethan and Vanessa's house is finally ready. They've moved in, and they're hosting Thanksgiving this year. Can't wait for everyone to see their beautiful new home. Please arrive by 2 p.m. so Ethan can give tours before dinner at 4 p.m. I almost didn't go, but then something in me snapped. Some part of me that had been quiet for 28 years finally woke up and said, enough. I decided it was time to stop hiding. The morning of Thanksgiving, I took Oscar for a long walk around my property. It was cold and crisp, perfect November weather. The leaves were mostly down, but a few stubborn ones still clung to the branches, orange and red against the gray sky. I could hear the stream burbling in the distance. Oscar ran ahead, circling back to check on me every few minutes. I looked at my house, my land, everything I'd built, and made my decision. I was done being invisible. I showered and changed into a simple but elegant outfit, dark jeans that fit perfectly, a soft cashmere sweater in deep burgundy that I'd splurged on after the acquisition, expensive leather boots. Nothing flashy, but a far cry from the clearance rack clothes I used to wear to family gatherings. I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked confident, successful, put together, nothing like the struggling little sister they all imagined. Here goes nothing, Oscar, I said, giving him a treat before I left. Then I drove to Ethan's house. It took 45 minutes to get there. His new neighborhood was one of those cookie-cutter suburban developments where every house looks basically the same. Beige vinyl siding, 2-car garage, tiny yard, houses crammed close together. It was nice enough, perfectly adequate. The American dream in prefab form, but it wasn't impressive, not really, despite the way my family was treating it like he'd bought a mansion. I parked on the street because the driveway was already full, saw my mom's car, my aunt and uncle's car, Nora's car, took a deep breath, grabbed the hostess gift I'd brought, an expensive bottle of wine and a charcuterie board set, and walked up to the door. Vanessa answered, wearing an apron that said "Hostess with the Mostest" across the front in sparkly letters. She pulled me into an awkward hug, even though we'd only met maybe 3 times before. "Helen, you made it. Come in, come in. Ethan's giving everyone the grand tour." I handed her the wine and charcuterie board. She glanced at it without really looking and set it aside on the entry table with a dozen other hostess gifts. "Thanks. These are so pretty. Let me show you around." Inside, Ethan was in full tour guide mode. About 15 people were following him from room to room while he pointed out features like he was hosting HD TV. And here's the kitchen. Vanessa picked out all the finishes herself. She spent weeks choosing the perfect backsplash. Those are subway tiles, classic and timeless. And see these countertops? Granite, not quartz. Granite, much more valuable. We're thinking about doing a kitchen island renovation next year to extend this counter. Mom was trailing behind him like a proud shadow, adding commentary. "Isn't it gorgeous? Look at the lighting fixtures." And Ethan picked out that paint color himself. It's called agreeable gray, very sophisticated. And wait until you see the primary bedroom. The closet space is incredible. I found Nora, and we took refuge near the back of the tour group. "How long have you been here?" I whispered. "Too long," she said. Aunt Debbie already cornered me about why I'm not on dating apps. Then she told me about her friend's daughter who met someone on Bumble and now they're married with twins. Apparently, that's supposed to inspire me to get on an app and find my soulmate. Has she asked about your biological clock yet? Not yet, but the day is young. We followed the group upstairs. Ethan showed off the primary bedroom, the guest rooms, the bathroom fixtures. Everything was standard suburban new build, nothing special or unique, but the way he talked about it, you'd think he'd personally designed the Taj Mahal. This is the primary bathroom. We splurged on the upgraded tile. And see this mirror? That's not just any mirror. It's a smart mirror with lighting controls and a defogger. Very high tech. It was a $200 bathroom mirror from Home Depot. I knew because I'd looked at the same one when I was furnishing my guest bathroom before deciding to go with something nicer. When we all sat down to eat, Ethan took the head of the table with Mom at his right and Vanessa at his left. I got stuck between Nora and Aunt Debbie, who immediately started interrogating me. So Helen, any special someone yet? You're not getting any younger, you know. You're what, 28 now? 29. The good ones get snapped up early. Still 28, I said, taking a sip of water. Well, you need to put yourself out there. Have you tried the dating apps? I have a friend whose daughter met her husband on one of those things. Can't remember which one. Bumble, Tinder, one of those. I'm focusing on my career right now, I said politely. Mom jumped in from across the table. Helen's always been so independent, so focused on work. Not everyone is ready to settle down and build a life like Ethan and Vanessa. The implication was clear. Ethan had his priorities straight, and I didn't. Speaking of building a life, Ethan stood with his wine glass. Vanessa and I have an announcement. We're going to start trying for a baby next year. We've got plenty of space now, and we're both at such stable points in our careers, we figured, why wait? More cheers, more congratulations. My mom actually wiped away a tear. I can't believe my baby boy is all grown up, she said, squeezing his arm. A beautiful home, a wonderful job, thinking about starting a family. You've done everything right, Ethan, everything a mother could hope for. Then she turned to me with that look, the one she always gives me, the mix of disappointment and pity and poorly disguised judgment. Helen, honey, she said, and the entire table went quiet. When are you going to finally settle down? Don't you want what your brother has? A nice home, a partner, stability? You're not getting any younger, and I worry about you living in that little apartment all alone. The table went completely quiet. Everyone turned to look at me, waiting for me to make some excuse or deflect like I always did, waiting for me to hang my head and mumble something about focusing on my career or not having found the right person yet. I took a slow sip of water, making them wait just long enough to get uncomfortable, set my glass down carefully, looked my mother directly in the eyes. Oh, I already did, I said calmly. I just didn't invite anyone who doubts me. Absolute silence. You could have heard a pin drop, a fork drop, a single molecule move. My mom's fork clattered onto her plate. Aunt Debbie's mouth fell open. Uncle Rick stopped mid-chew. Ethan's smug smile froze on his face like someone had hit pause on his entire existence. You what? Mom finally managed to say, her voice cracking slightly. I settled down, I repeated, taking another bite of turkey like it was no big deal. About 8 months ago, actually. What do you mean? Mom pressed, her eyes darting between me and Ethan. You didn't tell us anything about... Exactly, I cut in, setting my fork down deliberately. I bought a house. I moved in. I built a life. I adopted a dog. I have a garden. I have friends. I have everything I want. I just didn't feel the need to announce it to people who've never shown interest in my accomplishments. Ethan tried to recover, forcing a laugh that came out too loud. Come on, Helen. A house is a pretty big deal. Kind of weird to keep that a secret, don't you think? What were you hiding it for? I looked him dead in the eyes. I wasn't hiding anything. It's not like any of you ever asked. When's the last time anyone at this table asked me about my life, my job, my finances, my goals, my anything? That landed hard. Mom shifted uncomfortably in her seat. A few people looked down at their plates. Ethan's fake smile twitched at the corners. Well, Ethan said after an awkward pause, trying to regain control of the conversation. What kind of place are we talking about here? A condo downtown or something? Maybe one of those little studio apartments? No, I said calmly. It's a house. Actually, it's bigger than this one. You could have heard a pin drop, a mouse sneeze, the universe exhale. Ethan's smile completely disappeared. He was gripping his knife so tight his knuckles turned white. Vanessa looked between us, confused. Mom's face went pale. Bigger? Aunt Debbie asked, breaking the silence. How big are we talking, Helen? I leaned back slightly in my chair, completely relaxed. Just over 4,200 square feet on 3 acres. Ethan's jaw literally dropped. My mom let out a small gasp. Uncle Rick choked on his wine. Aunt Debbie's eyes went wide. But sweetheart, Mom said, voice strained and thin, don't you think that's a bit excessive for someone on their own? That's so much space for just one person. Seems impractical. Seems like maybe you didn't think this through. Not really, I replied evenly. I mean, I didn't take out a mortgage or anything, so it's not like I have to worry about it being a financial strain. And I've got Oscar, that's my dog, so I'm not alone. Plus, I have friends over pretty often. Game nights, dinner parties, that sort of thing. Mom's voice got higher. You paid cash for a house that size? Yeah. I shrugged, like it was no big deal. I didn't see the point in having debt if I didn't need to. Why pay interest to a bank when I can just buy it outright? The reaction around the table was immediate and varied. Shock, disbelief, confusion, and in Ethan's case, pure rage, barely concealed beneath a crumbling facade. I turned to him with an innocent smile. So how's your mortgage, Ethan? What did you end up putting down? Was it 5%? That's pretty standard for first-time buyers. His jaw clenched so hard I could almost hear his teeth grinding. We put down. That's really none of your business. Fair enough, I said. I'm sure you got a great rate, though. Mom jumped in, desperate to save Ethan's moment. Well, Ethan's home is just beautiful. And it's in such a wonderful neighborhood, such a smart investment. The schools here are top rated for when they have children, and the location is so convenient to everything, much more practical than living out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, I'm not in the middle of nowhere, I said. I'm about 40 minutes from the city. Perfect distance. Close enough to commute if I need to go into the office, but far enough to have privacy and peace. The woods behind my house are beautiful. There's a stream running through the property that I can hear from my back deck. Aunt Debbie, who's never been good at reading a room, piped up. Wait, so, Helen, you actually own your house outright? No mortgage at all? That's right, I said, paid in full at closing. That's quite an accomplishment, Uncle Rick said, looking at me with new respect. Thanks, I said simply. The looks around the table ranged from shocked to impressed to confused to, in Ethan's case, absolutely furious. He was vibrating with barely suppressed rage. You know, I said, looking around the table, it's funny how much people assume about you when they don't actually bother to ask. For years, I've listened to everyone talk about what a success Ethan is, while treating me like I'm barely scraping by. Nobody ever asked how I was really doing, what I'd accomplished, what my life actually looked like. Mom tried to laugh it off, but it came out strained. Oh, come on, Helen. It's not like we ignore you. We're all very interested in your life. I raised an eyebrow. Really? When was the last time you asked me about my job, my finances, my future plans? When's the last time any of you asked about anything other than whether I'd found a boyfriend yet? Silence. No one had an answer. You never asked, I continued, my voice calm but firm, because you never thought you had to. You assumed Ethan was the only one worth paying attention to, the only one doing anything important with his life. Ethan slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. Seriously, Helen, we get it. You bought a house. Congratulations. Do you want us to throw you a parade or something? Do you want a freaking medal? No, I said, looking directly at him. But maybe you should think about getting some financial advice before you keep acting like you're some kind of success story. His eyes narrowed dangerously. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, leaning forward slightly, that while you've been pretending to have it all figured out, you've actually been drowning in debt. Credit card debt specifically. A lot of it. The blood drained from his face. The entire table went silent. You could feel the tension like a physical thing. Helen, Mom said slowly, her voice shaking. What are you talking about? I kept my eyes on Ethan. Did you tell her, Ethan? Did you tell Mom that you're barely keeping up with your mortgage payments? That you maxed out 5 credit cards just to furnish this place? That you've been borrowing money from everyone you know just to keep up appearances? His face went from pale to red. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about my finances. Don't I? I asked calmly. I work in fintech, Ethan. Financial technology. Information analysis is literally what I do for a living. Your credit score is in the 500s. You're over $200,000 in debt outside of your mortgage. Car loan you can't afford. Credit cards all maxed out. Personal loans from sketchy online lenders. You're one missed payment away from complete financial disaster." Mom turned to him, face pale, hand clutching her napkin. "Ethan, is this true?" For once in his life, Ethan had nothing to say. He just sat there, exposed, with everyone staring at him. "How much did you borrow from Mom?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Was it just the $15,000 I heard about, or was there more after that? Mom's head snapped toward me. "How did you—" "I overheard you at the cookout," I said. "The one celebrating his mortgage pre-approval. You know, the event that got a bigger celebration than my college graduation. I heard you in the kitchen talking about how you'd given him $15,000 from your retirement savings, and how he was asking for more." Mom had the decency to look ashamed, her eyes dropping to her plate. "You had no right," Ethan hissed at me, his voice low and dangerous. "No right to dig into my finances. That's a violation of—" "And you had no right to take advantage of Mom," I shot back, my voice rising for the first time. "To take her retirement savings for your down payment while knowing damn well you couldn't afford this house. To drain her accounts while she's still working because she can't afford to retire now." The silence that followed was absolute. My mom looked between us, her perfect family image crumbling around her. Aunt Debbie looked uncomfortable. Uncle Rick cleared his throat. Nora was trying not to smile. "How did you do it?" Mom finally asked me, her voice small and broken. "How did you afford a house like that? Where did you get that kind of money?" I took a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. "I worked my ass off," I said clearly. "I got promoted 5 times in 6 years. I started as a junior developer making $55,000 and lived in a terrible apartment with 3 roommates because I was determined to get out of debt. I paid off all my student loans while Ethan was still asking you for money. I'm the CTO of my company now, Chief Technology Officer. I manage 40 people. Last year, when my company got acquired, my stock options were worth over $1 million. I invested smart. I saved aggressively. I didn't waste money trying to impress people who never cared anyway." The table was completely silent. Everyone was staring at me. "$1 million?" Mom whispered. $1.2 million, actually. After taxes, I cleared about $850,000. Plus, I have a salary of $185,000 annually now, plus bonuses. Ethan stood up so fast his chair fell backward with a crash. "You think you're better than me? You think you've won something here? You're just a stuck-up—" "Ethan," Mom cut him off sharply. "That's enough." "No." He was shaking with anger now. "She thinks she's so much better than everyone. She comes in here and humiliates me in front of everyone. She's been lying to this family for years." "I haven't been lying to anyone," I said calmly, still seated. "I just finally stopped playing a game that was rigged against me from the start. A game where nothing I did was ever good enough, because you'd already been decided as the winner." I looked around the table at my family's shocked faces, then at my mom, who still couldn't meet my eyes. "For years," I said, my voice steady, "I've watched you all fawn over everything Ethan does while treating me like an afterthought, like I was somehow falling behind in life, disappointing you all by not measuring up to his example. When the truth is, I've been ahead this entire time, miles ahead." I stood up, grabbing my coat from the back of my chair. "The saddest part," I said, looking directly at my mother, "is that you'll never know how much I've actually accomplished. Not really, because you never bothered to ask. You were so busy focusing on your golden boy that you completely missed the fact that your daughter was the successful one all along." My mom started to cry. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. Ethan was shaking with anger, his hands balled into fists. The rest of the family sat frozen, not knowing what to say. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. "Next time you want to know about my life," I said, "try actually listening to the answer." And with that, I walked out into the cold November air, got in my car, and drove home to my beautiful, fully paid-for house. Oscar greeted me at the door with his tail wagging, completely unconcerned with family drama. I changed into comfortable clothes, made myself a cup of tea, and sat on my deck wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunset through the bare branches of the trees. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. I felt completely untouchable. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I was sitting on my back deck with Oscar, watching another sunset when Nora texted me. "Mom says Aunt Debbie is still talking about your mic drop moment at Thanksgiving. Pretty sure you're a family legend now. In a good way, for once." I smiled and texted back, "How's Mom doing?" "She's been pretty quiet. I think she's actually processing what happened for once. She asked me for your address yesterday." My phone rang a minute later. It was my mom's number. This was the 6th time she'd called since Thanksgiving. I'd let them all go to voicemail. This time, after staring at the screen for a long moment, I answered. Hi, Mom. Helen. Her voice was shaky, uncertain. Thank you for answering. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I would either. I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk about Thanksgiving, about everything. I waited, not making this easy for her. Ethan's having some financial troubles, she continued. Things are worse than I thought. He's behind on his mortgage already. The bank called me because I co-signed. I didn't know I'd co-signed, but apparently I did. He had me sign some papers and I didn't read them carefully. And now they're saying if he doesn't catch up, they're going to... I hung up. Then I blocked her number, blocked Ethan's, blocked Vanessa's. Then I turned my phone off completely and set it aside. Oscar came over and put his head in my lap. I scratched behind his ears, feeling lighter than I had in years. Just you and me now, buddy, I told him. Well, us and Nora. That's enough family for anyone. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their validation. And I definitely don't need to set myself on fire to keep Ethan warm. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the afterthought. I wasn't the invisible daughter. I was Helen E. Doherty, successful, independent, strong, living in my beautiful house with my rescued dog and my peaceful life and my chosen family. And that's more than enough.